with search, currently already 20% of mobile queries are done with speech search.
Wow.
At the moment, already 20%.
20%, that's a lot. It's going to read how you talk and it's going to say, you prefer bro? Yeah, it's going to call you bro. If you prefer sir, it's going to know. It's just going to know. You don't even have to set it.
I love it.
I love it. It's always user experience. And that means you're writing your website like you're talking to someone. I think that's going to be the future, because these AIs are going to get better and better. People are going to feel like they're actually talking to their phones. And then if they get to your website, well, they won't get to your website if you're not not carrying on that conversation.
Do you know what? I've got 6 Alexa devices in my house.
6?
6. I've got one in the kitchen.
Right.
I've got one in the living room. The kids have got one. I've got one in my room. I've got one in the office. 6. Yes, 6.
Bloody hell. I've got a Google Home
in your apartment.
Yeah. But then, to be fair, it's basically one room.
Yeah, true. And the reason why we've got that is because we control everything from the lights to the Ring doorbells and everything.
Yeah.
But I've got 6. But do you know how many there are in the world?
No.
So, according to Amazon themselves, there are 65 million Alexa devices alone in the world.
That's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot. It's a lot. So, it's a lot of voice assistants. That's just Alexa.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
According to Statistica, there are, including phones and Alexa devices and Google Homes, there were 4.2 billion devices, like voice enabled devices. That's phones and that's in the world. That was in 2020, and the forecast is in 2024 there's going to be 8.4 billion units. 8.4 billion units of
doubled
voice activated.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy, isn't it? That those numbers are insane, but it makes sense. Like, you know, you think about how pretty much everyone, even on an international scale, when you start looking at the stats for, like, even in more developing countries like China, India, everyone has a smartphone now. It's insane.
I think that voice activated type life, like, we use voice for everything. Like, and even when I can just type in, I won't bother. I'll send messages with voice now. With WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So if we're in a group and I can't be bothered to type, I'll just send a voice, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you get it a lot. I think I use it the most when I'm just doing things like checking the weather, seeing, you know, what's the weather going to be like this morning. Setting alarms is a big one. Playing music. That's the big one, because I think a lot of these things. Because I know for my Google Home thing, I got through the Spotify promotion where you get a free one. Yeah. Right? And I think a lot of people initially start out just seeing them as a speaker.
Like music, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I did, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I looked this up, and apparently 70% of people who use voice search or use digital assistant devices use them for music.
Oh, right. So people who have
not necessarily primarily,
right,
but they use it. Music. 70% of people use the music.
Yeah, I believe that, because we use ours for music quite a bit.
Yeah,
especially the home ones.
Yeah.
We've also started using it now. Here's something that maybe the parents out there are experiencing. I caught my she was 8 at the time, 8-year-old, asking Alexa homework questions.
Right, yeah.
Like simple mathematics,
definitely.
Who was in 19 whatever, what happened in. She was asking, and I said, you can't do that.
Yeah, no,
that's cheating. Yeah. But so she was able to find the answers to her homework.
Yeah, but like instantaneously. I think that's the whole thing, isn't it? It really highlights as well, because you see how it's this circular thing where if you're asking a simple question like the kind of thing a kid would need for homework, when did Thomas Edison invent the light bulb or whatever, it can tell you just like that
instantly, right?
And I think when the more you see that with the voice search, you also see it with if you're searching on normally on a phone or a TV.
Yeah.
Because if now on Google you search for a question, you've got the whole featured snippets thing.
Yeah,
it's a huge aspect. But it's not even schema. Google does it automatically. You don't have to schema it up. So like it'll just pull it from Wikipedia.
What it feels is the most relevant result.
Yeah, exactly. Which I guess is how. I mean, that is how these things work. Like the different search engines. I mean, obviously each device is hooked up to a different search engine. So Google Home obviously is on Google.
That's right.
Alexa. Bing.
Alexa uses Bing. So for now,
fascinating.
I mean, this changes all the time. But Alexa apparently uses the Bing search engine. Apple Siri currently uses Google. It used to use Bing, but it's swapped over to Google. And Google pay billions to be able to be the default search engine on Apple devices, and obviously Cortana. I don't know if anyone uses Cortana.
Yeah, people with Windows phones.
Maybe everyone at home does. Obviously, it's Microsoft, so they use Bing.
Yeah.
All of the search engines now has moved, obviously, from originating from the desktop to mobile, but now the next battle is going to be in the voice.
I think that is really where what we really need to talk about today in a big way. Because this whole thing.
Do you mean our topic of the day?
Our topic of the day.
The one that's just the one that we haven't been planning. No, the one that's just come to mind.
Like that. Since I haven't been doing SEO that long, but since I've been doing it, Google have rolled out a mobile first indexing.
Sure.
Because it makes sense. Everyone's on mobile now. And I think voice search is this really interesting next step in everything, because there's so many kind of contrasting opinions, even from people at Google, different views from people on the street. And I think a lot of people, especially in the kind of search industry, are very curious as to how voice search is actually going to impact our kind of work that we do.
Sure. SEO,
yeah. Because I think now, going back to the whole thing, how can you optimize for something that is an answer to a question?
I see what you mean. So what you're saying is that at the moment, in terms of SEO, you optimize for keywords. You get people find you, they click, they go to your website, and you can track the whole. You can track the whole journey, right? But what you're saying is that in search, you're getting delivered an answer there and then. So how do you track how well you're doing? Because
how do you? And I think it's an interesting thing, because it's also on an industry to industry kind of perspective. Is we get certain industries like if you're kind of trying to provide really helpful FAQs. How do I do XYZ? That's great for voice search. You'll instantly be able to respond to that. But how does it work when it comes to kind of e-commerce and actually making people convert?
This is it, you see, because I think so. Obviously, on the e-commerce side, if you're on Alexa, now I've experienced this on the bad end before, where my kids have ordered stuff off Alexa without us knowing, and it's that easy. Right, so obviously for Amazon it's great, but what about for people who are operating their own e-commerce, in terms of their own e-commerce sites, and they want to sell, and everything's shifting to voice? I think this is kind of where the whole ecosystem of what we've now got. We've got on phones, we've got apps. So if I was an e-commerce site, I could build my own app and then have that for my customers to be able to reorder and quite easily. And I think now this whole ecosystem is shifting towards the voice, because you can build Alexa skills and you can build Google Home Assistant skills, and you can actually have your own app, I guess, in the voice search.
I totally agree, and I think it's an interesting thing I was thinking about earlier. With talking about Amazon and how your kids can just go on and say, Alexa, buy me a...
It's cost me a fortune.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Right. And I think at the moment here is so one of the biggest growing markets for voice search is China. And they've had 50% of the growth in voice search in 2018 was solely China through Chinese products.
So to get this right, so voice purchasing products via voice.
No. The product, just the industry of voice search products. So like home digital assistants.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
And I think one of the reasons that this really links in is in China. You get like WeChat, these sort of super apps where you can do everything. And that the closest we've got to that here is Amazon.
Yeah, I guess
in
so,
a way,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we can
in terms of commerce. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can obviously on your WeChat voice thing, you can just be like, hey, you know, buy me whatever.
Oh yeah, you can do anything on WeChat.
Exactly, and I think Amazon's close we've got to that. And I think it'll be interesting to see how we go from these like massive corporations who have their own dedicated virtual assistant thing, like an Alexa, which allows you to go, Alexa, buy me some dog food, and then Amazon instantly it's all connected to your account. And I think the next step will be, how does a smaller company who's doing a similar kind of thing, even if it's like, you know, someone like ASOS to start with, how do they jump into that same space without their own digital
voice assistant product, right?
Yeah.
How do they go onto the platform like the Alexas and the Google Homes? And whatnot. I guess here is the interesting bit. Here is that in our industry, going back to the search, how does someone who's doing relatively well now on Google and SEO and they're ranking really well, how in the future, and maybe we're 10 years away, but how does somebody who's doing relatively well in organic search on Google now, how do they also do well and start to transition? Because like you've got to start to think about where you fit in with the whole voice trends, because that's not going away, right? The whole voice thing. So I guess there's like some things that businesses can do now so that their websites and their online presence is a little bit more voice friendly. Let's call it. Are we going to start saying that, voice friendly?
I mean, I don't like it, but probably. You know, I think it is. It's going to be a relatively essential part, isn't it, to do a voice friendly? Yeah, sure. Have a voice friendly platform. But then, what industries is that going to be essential for?
I was just waiting for my series to come up there. Yeah. What's the best Italian restaurant in the that's walkable in the next 30 minutes? Yeah. That I think is quite powerful, because then you've got that whole locality aspect of it, because Google and Apple then know where you are and it can track what's in your vicinity.
I imagine searching for local business stuff is huge.
Yeah, I think the local business stuff is...
It's got to be. Like, I know I've done it. Yeah. You know, I've done it before. And I think things like restaurants, little shops as well. And I think that's a really good indicator of how it's not just the e-commerce market, and why it's important to have a digital presence, why it will probably be important to be voice friendly, even if you're not selling anything through your website. And I think that leads you on to, especially talking about the local business stuff, like you said, like, you know, best Italian restaurant in a 5-minute walk. There's already a load of places that are trying to SEO themselves up to being, you know, best Italian restaurant in Manchester or whatever. But that's where I think they'll need to start refining exactly how they're approaching their kind of optimization for voice search.
Yeah, sure. I think the whole retail end then, so whether that's shops or whether that's restaurants or hotels or like basically physical bricks and mortar, I think that from a voice search perspective is quite... But what about... No, a lot of our clients are in the professional services sort of sectors, you know, and a lot of it is kind of, service led. Yeah. How do you feel that that voice search can impact that market? I mean, it might take a while.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think at the end of the day, all great SEO is not about optimizing for keywords. It's about optimizing for people. It's about
experience, right?
Searches,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So good user experience, and I think that will be definitely seen as an example of great user experience. Even realistically, we're not living in Star Trek. No one's saying, "Hey computer, find me a lawyer," right? That's not happening, right? And it's never going to happen. Yeah. But if let's say you're a law firm and someone wants to know just a basic legal question, if you have optimized your website in such a way that you can provide a short, snappy answer to someone,
and the featured snippets, right?
A featured snippet, as we already do.
This here is a featured snippet. We'll stick it on. Yeah,
stick one on. As these sites already do, you have an FAQ section, featured snippet comes up, and then your Google Home or your Alexa, whatever, repeats that back to you, I think Google will see that perhaps as a ranking factor because it's it adds to the user experience. Sure. No one's coming to your website off that, but that you're helping them. So when someone, it might not even be the same person, but when someone else is actually looking for a lawyer, well, your site's going to be up there because you're already helping other people. You are providing a great experience to everyone else, so why wouldn't you provide a great experience for this person who's searching online?
So I guess taking that a step further, that if you can provide, if you're a lawyer, let's just take the lawyer example here. If you're a lawyer and I've got a legal question and I say, hey Siri, what's this legal question? Yeah. And then because your law firm's website has been optimized to a point where you've got the feature snippet in Google, but because of that you're also being referred to from Alexa or Siri or whoever. I think maybe that could be taken a step further, where there's a call to action on the voice where I say, that's a great answer, call Sam Begley Lawyers.
Yeah, totally. And I think that they already do it. I know Google Home does it. Whenever it provides you an answer, it then sends a link to your app. Then you open your Home app. I see. And it's like, this is where that answer came from.
Oh, fab.
So if you follow that through, and I think these apps don't make, right now, because we're still in that kind of burgeoning era of the voice search stuff.
Right at the beginning, really,
we're like, we're just hitting it, I think, as the wave is coming up. And I think the thing they need to really improve, because a lot of people aren't aware of that. I have never opened my Google. I open my Google Home app when it's not connecting to the lights.
The app that's connected to your Google Home.
Yeah, because you need the app on your phone and the phone connects to the thing. So, and that's where it sends all these links. Now, if there was a way that it made it a little bit more obvious where they were going, maybe you just get a push notification.
Yeah. This is where you... And actually, that's like a really simple next step, right? A little simple tweak. But I agree. I think there's lots of little things that can happen to make this whole voice thing explode even more.
Definitely.
What about for businesses that are kind of not retail or physical bricks and mortar? And we talked about professional services. What about businesses that are, I guess there's going to be like new industries that are created because of voice, right? Because of the rise of voice. New industries, like new services, maybe like concierge type services that are on voice.
I think a huge aspect of that is going to be not ranking for these traditional keywords. We talk a lot about how it's a lot more useful to rank for these long tail question-based keywords already, because they're the people you're actually kind of responding to. You're not just getting the big numbers. 10 million people search for this. It's like, no, you're better off searching for the one, or ranking for the one that 500 people are searching for with good intent. And I think the change will be in seeing these websites, they have to adapt to a more conversational style. You've got a human being talking to you, you don't sit there on Google going, dear Google, how do I do this? Well, actually, this is not off topic, but I saw a thing the other day. It was a guy who'd seen his grandma's Google search results, and she put, every time she searched for anything, she put please and thank you.
Oh, that's nice.
But, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but as these AIs and these voice assistants develop more and more, there's a good chance people will start treating them slightly more humanly, slightly more conversationally.
Don't abuse your digital assistants, everyone.
We've all seen Terminator. We know. But yeah, I think the conversational aspect is really important, because especially as the activation words for these things already are like, hey Siri, okay Google, whatever it might be, they're kind of like, they're already kind of conversational, which lends itself to the rest of the query being conversational. And I think these sites with their new industries or old industries are going to have to really write all their content in a conversational way that feels like it's flowing.
So that it's not written too formally, almost writing it for as if you're speaking to your user directly.
Exactly.
As in like you're speaking to them in person or on the phone.
Totally.
No, I agree. And I think with like you said, with AI is becoming a lot more informal. They're understanding the context and the intent of certain slang type keywords.
My Siri has started. I don't know when this happened. It starts going.
Oh yes, that's right.
I mean,
my Siri does that.
But it's like you're having a chat with someone.
I thought you were gonna say that your Siri's starting to call you bro.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah, that's coming.
But that will come. That will come. It'll read. I mean,
it'll read context of how you speak,
sci-fi stuff, but it's going to read how you talk, and it's going to say, if you're like kind of, You prefer bro? Yeah, it's going to call you bro. If you prefer sir, it's going to know. It's just going to know. You don't even have to set it.
I love it.
It'll
I love
know.
it. So on the just to set the tone then, with search, currently already 20% of mobile queries are done with speech search.
Wow.
At the moment, already 20%.
20%. That's a lot.
Now I do that all the time on Google. When I'm on Google Chrome on my phone, say I'm I'm walking or I'm driving or whatever, and I do the speech search, it's pretty bang on. And I get what I need from it.
Yeah.
For the viewers who are watching or listening, how would you suggest they prepare for the world of this voice search explosion? What are the top things that we can do right now to prepare for that day?
I think it is really up in the air, and I think that's one thing we've all got to remember is it's very. This is a brand new thing. There are people at Google who've even said, "Don't worry about it. It's not going to be that big of a deal." However, with that said, I do think from what we're seeing now, 20% of searches are done on voice.
Search, speech search.
30% of users who own a smart home device have purchased something with it on an e-commerce platform.
My kids are 20% of that.
Are 20%
by the way,
that easily. And so I definitely think it's not going anywhere. So the main tips that I'd say are make sure that you've got an understanding of schema. That's a huge one already. One of the big things I know I use it for a lot is I like cooking, recipes. Huge, and they come up decent ones. Hey Google, give me an apple pie recipe, and it'll give you loads. The only way it knows how to read those things though is through schema.
It's through schema. Okay.
If you're not schemaed up on your website, you are going to struggle a lot to start ranking for voice searches. So that's part one. Part two, make sure that you're being as user friendly as possible. That means be really adept at answering questions and queries directly in a conversational manner that are succinct to the point, and Google it already if you do that, you'll be pumped up higher in the search engines. But when you're going to have people who are asking short, sharp questions, you need to be the website who can answer those short, sharp questions.
So let's give an example here. So when we talk about this, we're talking about FAQs, right? So of a frequently asked questions type piece of content. So what you're saying is that if you're optimizing an answer to a question, to not only provide a detailed and comprehensive, because that's good for Google now, but also to provide a short, sharp version of it for the schemas.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say you need to be that intense about it, because Google's really clever and it understands how to chop things up and shorten them down. 90% of the time it gets it right. But definitely if you're doing you can write all this beautiful content, but a solid, especially if you're in the professional services industry, as we said before, have just a really snappy FAQ, question, immediate response. If you want to then elaborate on that, that's perfectly fine, but get that immediate response as high in the content as possible. It needs to be, here's the question, here's the answer. We're not messing about here. It's like straight up. And the third thing is really just, I mean, it's the same thing. It's always user experience, and that means you're writing your website like you're talking to someone. I think that's going to be the future, because these AIs are going to get better and better. People are going to feel like they're actually talking to their phones, and then if they get to your website, well, they won't get to your website if you're not not carrying on that conversation. And I think that's really the main takeaway here with the voice search.
So, user experience is the key for everything. Yeah. User experience is the key for everything in the world we live in today. Absolutely. For mobile, for web. But for voice, it's even more important to be human. Great. Fantastic.
Cool. Great stuff.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Cheers.